So between last night and this morning, I found myself reflecting on something that I thought was very interesting. I realized that growing up, the way that I approached life was a sense of willingness. And earlier on in life, it was a willingness, but more so from a place of people pleasing and codependency. I just wanted people to like me. What's interesting is that I still have that sense of willingness. But what I didn't have back then that I do now is a forming, I would argue already formed, but also continuing to form sense of safety, right? And the really interesting thing about this is that I didn't have that when I was younger. I had the willingness, but I didn't have the safety. Example, I did a lot of things that were very adrenaline inducing without thinking about the safety aspect. I used to jump off of bridges into water without checking the water, right? And it's interesting because I know that in a lot of these videos, I talk about childhood trauma. I talk about a lot of like really negative aspects of life and how trauma shapes you, what happens that, traumatizes people. And I think that it's important to realize that like early on I learned this sense of willingness more so from a place of, like people pleasing and codependency. But as I grow and as I heal and as I evolve, this sense of willingness doesn't go away. And as long as I can pair safety with it, right, I can find incredible benefit in it. Risk is okay as long as the risk is not like life threatening. Um, and that's what I used to do when I was younger. I used to do very risky things, like I was saying before. But as long as I continue to deploy this sense of willingness, I think that I will see my life benefit from it in very powerful ways over the long term. Um, I was just I woke up this morning and I was thinking about it. It was either last night when I was going to sleep or I woke up this morning and I was thinking about it and I was like, yeah, I had a very interesting sense of willingness growing up, and it was coming from a place of people pleasing. I used to do things that I would never do again. I'm not going to mention any of it in this video. But like it's so interesting to see how deploying a sense of willingness can really benefit you, right? Like it can. And if you remain open to the potentials of whatever it is that you could be willing to try, right? That's what I really want to, sit with in this video. I look at this idea of failure in life and I don't think it's real. I mean, how can we fail? Like we're not going to be here someday. So just trying things is probably the most important thing. With trying comes willingness. In order to try something, you have to have some sort of sense or some sort of, you know, um, level of willingness at play to even move forward with pursuing something, right? I don't like the idea of failure because it's just not real. It's just noise. It's an illusion. You're going to be here and then you're not going to be here. Like that's the reality of it. So with that, um, for me, looking at this whole matter of willingness, as long as I attach safety to it moving forward, and conscious awareness, of course. Chris is maybe willing to try this, which could lead to that, right? Is it safe? If it's safe, cool. Is it not safe? Why is it not safe? Okay, we've ruled out that it is not safe, or it's been ruled that it is not safe, right? As long as Chris is not doing it from a place of people pleasing, as long as Chris has brought all of his focus, awareness, and energy back to himself and into his body, and he is aware enough to understand why he's doing it, and it's really for himself, then he's good. It really comes down to willingness, and I'm really grateful that I ever started to deploy willingness growing up when I was younger. And I'm also really grateful that um, nothing ever happened to me when I was younger, because I did some crazy things. I did. And, you know, it's really cool to see how far I've come and how much I've grown. That's like the most rewarding thing. And to recognize that I can deploy willingness, I can continue to deploy willingness, but in a different, evolved, and mature way that can strengthen the way that I experience life. Which, with that, there's nothing but benefits as that follows. But really, just to sit with this whole idea of failure being an illusion. It is. It's not real. We're not going to be here someday. How much do you really want to worry about failing at something? It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. And that's just the way that I like to look at life. The willingness can be something that I utilize as a tool that transforms the way that I experience life.